when you think about the industry as a whole, it's hard for me to imagine, but are there situations that exist where it is really hard to get somebody, or maybe some carriers in the industry are moving entirely to automated quoting systems? Are there issues with something that maybe, let's call it 100% automated quote, right? You're punching in information, the algorithm is reading through it, and then delivering terms. What are the potential issues there? All right. Today, we are excited to discuss insurance industry trends and specifically the quoting process and how that's changing over time. Dan, my name is Will. I'm on our sales enhancement team. I make outbound phone calls to our customers, driving new business submissions morning to night, all day, every day. Dan Carballo is joining me, a leader on the Instant Quote team here at USLI. Dan, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm a team lead on the Instant Quote team. We are a new business underwriting team focused on speed, accessibility, and ease of use, mostly through quoting over the phone, assisting our web quoting platform, and looking to bridge the two with a web chat platform as well.
Awesome. So this is such a big topic for myself, for my team, because we make these calls asking for submissions, and we have 3 ways to go about it. A customer can email a submission to us, they can go onto our website and quote on the web, or they can call into your team and quote with a live trained underwriter on the phone, which is my favorite, I have to say. Can you talk about some trends that you're seeing? And before you do, I'll give you my perspective quickly. From the feedback on the phone, I'm hearing that all 3 are great, but more people are moving towards the web. Does data support that? What does your team think about it?
It's a good question. I think we're seeing growth in all platforms. We're seeing a lot of growth on the web. I do think that societal trends are probably going that way. Maybe customers are conditioned to going to the web to self-serve as a first option. But I think there's also a lot of opportunity there to provide access to a trained professional human being if you were to get stuck, and not sending somebody towards the web,
Right.
not forcing somebody towards the web if that's not necessarily their first choice. And also, if somebody does go on the web, I think having a bridge between platforms is crucial. So if somebody goes on the web, if they want to start there and they get stuck, or they have a question, or they don't understand what we're asking, or they need a coverage that they don't see, being able to call in, being able to chat in, and being connected to a live human being right away that knows what they're talking about and can help them out, I think that part's very important as well. So we're seeing growth across all of them.
Great. Yeah.
And not just in one demographic.
And I, based on the feedback that I get and my team members get, I think the industry's trying to navigate this. We hear about instances where a customer, they're in some position where they really need help, and they might not be sure of who their person is even, or where to go, or they're stuck on a website. And we've all had that experience. I have it with airlines frequently. I'm always scheduling something that's incorrect and have to make an adjustment, or I make an error in some way, and I just want to get a representative so bad. I'm on there and I'm hitting buttons, and all of a sudden I've turned into my dad and I start yelling, service representative, or something like that, or I press 1 until somebody shows up. So as a carrier, how do we navigate that? How do we manage implementing technology, but also keeping a real person that can save the day if they have to?
Well, I think one thing we're trying to do at USLI is be high tech and high touch. And with the amount of customers we have at USLI, I think it would be foolish to take the approach that they all want to do business one way. They all want to go to the web because technology is great and that's what's going to get it the quickest. Or they all want to call in. I think a lot of what we're trying to do is just have options for customers for however they want to do business.
Meeting people where they want to be met is a principle of our team. You could take one customer office, for example, and you'll find someone in there who is really savvy on the web. Every carrier that they have, they're on their web quoting, and they're doing multi-raters, and they're savvy. their email really quick, right? And then you have people that don't work that way. Maybe they're in their car, they're on the road often, and they want to take advantage of the phone. And then perhaps there's people that would want to print out a form and write through an Accord, who knows, or an application of some sort. So when we try to meet people where they want to be met and our customers there, what do you say to your team about doing that? Like, what's the message? Are you proactively trying to get that out and the word out? I know our team does. What do you lean on to make sure everybody's equipped with those things?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think it's about providing options. And then I think it's about working to recognize each situation for what it is.
Yeah.
So we have customers that write fitness centers, and they have a huge fitness center book, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're going to go online. They're going to quote it. They know what coverages they need. They know what coverages they don't need. They're going to get a quote at the end of that, and they feel really good about selling it because they've done it a million times
Right.
before. Then I get calls every single day where I say, hey, this is Dan. What product can I quote for you? And they started off by saying, I don't know. That's why I'm calling. And the power for them to be able to call in and get immediate access to a live human being who knows what they're talking about for that scenario is great. For us to be able to recognize the scenario for what it is, be able to point them in the right direction, take them through the quoting process, see if they have any questions about that quote, address any concerns that they might have, and ultimately load their lip so that they feel prepared to turn around and sell that. I think when that is what's needed in that interaction, and we are able to deliver upon that, I think the value of that is measurable.
Speed, accessibility, ease of use, all right there that you described in 5 to 10 minutes. So that's our value proposition, right? And from the sales perspective on our team, we're saying that on every call, every person that we interact with, we're trying to touch on those points. So I think that's a differentiator for USLI specifically. And when you think about the industry as a whole, it's hard for me to imagine, but are there situations that exist where it is really hard to get somebody, or maybe some carriers in the industry are moving entirely to automated quoting systems? Are there issues with something that maybe, let's call it 100% automated quote, right? You're punching in information, the algorithm is reading through it, and then delivering terms. What are the potential issues there?
Well, that's great when it works.
Right. That is pretty awesome.
And it's important to have that.
Yeah.
We're trying to have the best. USLI is trying to have the best web experience in the industry,
Because we have that too.
and we're serious about that.
Yeah.
And if you know what you're doing, we want you to be able to go online and get a
Yes.
quote. And if you're confident about selling that, we want you to be able to self-serve, go on there, get it right away, play around with it, change the coverages, and you feel good about selling that. We love that.
And then do 10 more.
Sure. 100 more. But at the same time, that's not everybody.
Right.
And maybe that specific scenario isn't one that customer feels super confident on. You might have a customer that writes a ton of personal lines business, and they know home, auto, dwelling, umbrella like the back of their hands. And they're very comfortable going online and getting a quote and self-serving. And we want to have the best web experience for that customer. But what happens when their number one personal lines client says, hey, can you quote my electrical contracting business as well? And now they're a little out of their element. And they want to be able to deliver upon that for their
Absolutely.
customer. If they need that extra hand holding, you can call in and you can get a live person who knows what they're talking about. If you start online and you get stuck, or you have a question about what something's being answered, or you see a question about payroll and you don't know, it's a one-man operation and he pays himself and you don't know if that counts as payroll, you can call in. You can web chat in. You can get a live person that maybe addresses your need. Maybe we take it to the finish line, but just really trying to bridge those gaps and not force a customer to go down any one platform without any sort of assistance.
Yeah, I love that, and that makes sense to me. It's juggling, right? It's juggling the human experience where somebody can be comfortable and confident in what they have and the information that's being passed back and forth, but also the efficiency of technology, right? It'd be foolish to ignore, but you got to have both. It makes me think about like those self-checkouts at the grocery store. I sometimes miss when there's a bagger there. I like talking to them, and they bag way better than I do. I walk to my car, and all this stuff falls through the bag. It's better a lot of times when somebody does it and helps me. So maybe that's a reductive version if we were to compare about it. But it makes me think the same way, that it is important to have both, right? Technology. So thank you. I'm excited to see what the future holds for Snap, our web quoting, even phone quote, and perhaps the technology that we introduce. Can you speak a little bit about, from when you started with Instant Quote to what you're doing today, the differences, some of the things that you need to address, and how it's changed over time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think probably what's been the biggest changes have really just been the implementation of technology. So I've been with Instant Quote about 10 years now. And the power of the human interaction, like, that hasn't really changed a whole lot.
Agreed.
When we have a customer that is freaking out because it's 7 p.m. on Friday and their client has a wedding tomorrow and nobody thought about the insurance, they need the insurance requirement for the venue.
Right.
And they're thinking everybody's closed because it's 7 p.m. And like I said, the wedding's tomorrow. It's Saturday.
Right. Rehearsal dinner's tonight.
When they call up, we're here till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're here 9 to 1 on Saturdays.
Right.
And that speaks to that accessibility component. When they call up, and we can right away go, oh, I can quote this for you right now, and then you can bind it online and just print out the cert. You're good. You'll be good to go. And in 5 minutes, we're going to have you all taken care of. The sigh of relief you hear, that hasn't changed in 10 years. And I think that really speaks to the power of the human connection component. What has changed is the technology, and across, all components of the quoting process, from customer facing, like Snap and the website and everything you can do and how fast it works and how, just how it looks, how it functions, the accessibility on there. That's improved greatly in my time on Instant Quote. And internally, through a lot of automation and, you don't want to ignore technology. You want to reap the benefits of technology. So a lot of what we're trying to do as far as automation goes is remove unnecessary roadblocks. And really, we have a huge team of highly trained underwriters that have a customer service mindset. So we want those underwriters to spend their time underwriting and servicing customers. So a lot of what has changed in the last 10 years is being able to readily identify customers right away, spending less time asking you, how do you spell your last name? What's your email again? Just recognizing who you are through technology so that we can get right to, okay, Will, what do you have on your desk? What can I quote for you today? What concerns do you have, and how can we help you?
I love that. Some of the bells and whistles on the process to make it smooth, flow easily. This conversation does remind me of, about 7 years ago when I started on the sales team here, and I was studying for my license and training throughout our underwriting teams here, and I sat with you, and it was about Instant Quote and what the value of Instant Quote was and how the team works and what they're doing, and passing the phone tree around to the underwriters that were capable of quoting such products. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is intricate, but also really easy to understand from a sales perspective. The value's right in front of me, that somebody can call right in and discuss the account they need to quote, have a seasoned underwriter go through it with them. And I've been selling it ad nauseum ever since in the best way. And I have to say that those last minute quotes are my favorite because they always bind. So I have to throw that in there. We love those. I do have some figures I wanted to put past you and see what you think about them. I pulled them from the internet.
So then we know they're true.
So it is 100% accurate and true every time. 75% of millennials would rather lose the ability to talk versus text, which I find a little bit hard to believe. Perhaps true. Texts are more convenient and on their own schedule, say 76% of millennials, and more data that's along that same exact line, indicating that generation by generation, people are moving towards a typing, text-based way of communicating rather than the phone. Are we moving, or is the industry moving in that direction as a whole? I can say from my feedback that I get from customers on the phone that the industry is. But I think that might be foolish. What do you think?
Let me first start by saying I'm not a huge fan of generalizing based on age group.
Sure.
I fall within that millennial category, but I would not prefer to lose talk over text.
Me neither.
I would much rather call you and let's get our weekend plans nailed out in a 60-second phone conversation rather than texting back and forth for 20 minutes. But I also recognize that society is changing, communication behaviors are changing, and I might not be the norm in that.
Right.
So, noise about what this generation is doing versus that generation aside, I think it really just kind of speaks to the importance of having options for customers. And, we're seeing growth on the web, but we're seeing growth on the phone too, and not just within certain demographics. I mean, we're seeing growth on the phones with young people as well. And, when you have a personal lines agent that calls in that is quoting a piece of commercial lines business and they really do need their handheld, and that scenario does not care about whether you're Gen Z or a millennial or what. You just need a live person who knows what they're talking about on the phone.
Right.
But at the same time, we can't ask everybody to call in and say, oh, no, don't worry about the web. We got a bunch of really good trained underwriters here. We have to have those tools available for customers who want to do business that way.
Yes.
So I think it's really just about providing options.
Yeah, and again, meeting our customers where they want to be met. And I think, and this goes for any industry. If you're a business that focuses on that, meeting your customers where they need to be met and making it easy, quick, speed, accessible, having good service elevates you, right? Having 3 options is huge. I think about it all the time. It's like a 5-tool baseball player, someone that can do it all. They can run, they can hit. Ohtani style, they'll pitch too, right? If you can do that as a business entity and have multiple vessels, distribution channels, making sure you're getting this valuable info to everybody, I think it's a winning recipe. And the Dodgers won the World Series, so Ohtani's on the Dodgers.
I don't watch sports, but at USLI, we want to be high tech and high touch. So we want to have the best web experience in the industry.
Yeah.
And we also have a huge team of underwriters here ready for your phone call, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time. And we want all of that available to our customers.
Yeah, and with hands-on training, that's big. That's big. In closing, as we move towards the end of this conversation, AI is such a big topic in people's back and forths anymore when it comes to business and industries and automated jobs, job replacement potentially. What type of AI can be included in a quoting process? I know we obviously have an algorithm for web quoting, but is there potential for one day in the future an interactive that almost is supposed to replicate a human? And what are the pros and cons with something like that?
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I have yet to come across, I'm a little bit biased in this answer, but I've yet to come across any sort of automation that even comes close to replicating the experience of getting a live person on the phone who knows what they're talking about. Right. Everybody's probably called some sort of company you needed assistance with, and whether you're going through the automated prompts or you're web chatting in and you're talking to a bot, that stuff's great.
Have you dealt with that recently?
Absolutely. My wife is a small business owner, and I had to quote a policy for her the other day, and with a small business property and casualty lines insurance carrier, went online, tried to quote something. It wasn't eligible for web quoting, so I had to call in. They didn't ask if I wanted to chat. They didn't offer to call me. So I had to call in.
Phone number.
20-minute hold. got a live person on the phone after 20 minutes. It was clear immediately they didn't know what they were doing. There was no confidence there at all. I explained the scenario to them. They said, well, I'm going to have to get you in touch with an underwriter. So my first thought is, great, I'm not talking to an underwriter. Another 5-minute hold while they tried to get to an underwriter for them to come back and say, underwriting's really backed up.
Okay.
I'll take your number. One of them will call you hopefully tomorrow. And that was 4 days ago. I never got a phone call. And in the meantime, purchased the policy from a different carrier. And I think that really, depending on the scenario, going back to that wedding example, when a customer calls at 7 p.m. because they forgot to get, or the client forgot to get, or whoever, they don't have an insurance policy in place for the wedding the next morning, that's not a price-sensitive phone call. And I think we have great pricing and coverages at USLI, but that access to a human that can help quell any concerns or worries and provide you with the customer service and expertise you need in that moment.
Yeah.
That's something I've not seen replicated by automation. Where that goes in the future, I'm not smart enough to say, but I do think that live human interaction is something that really stands out. The automation is great. The automation makes you more efficient. The automation allows you to spend more time in the human interaction.
So it's a balancing.
Yeah, I think it's a balance.
It's interesting. You brought up some points that spurred this thought. Our industry, insurance, there are so many parties that play a role in one account being written, right? So there's the potential policyholder, the client, who goes to their agent, who goes to multiple carriers to obtain quotes, review them, present them, hopefully sell one, right? So there's so many parties at play. When I look at it from my perspective, efficiency and speed is everything, right? And if you can have strong service, that provides the advantage from me as the carrier to my customer, the agent. Hopefully, they didn't get a quote anywhere else as quick as the one I provided them, right? And hopefully it's really good. But that gives them the better chance at selling it to their policyholder. So everything's related, right? The quicker they can access us and the quicker they can get a strong quote from us, the higher their chances are at selling that policy. So it helps them help us help them.
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of it probably depends on the type of business you're writing as well.
Sure. Not everything's a one-day event,
At USLI, we're focused on small business.
Yeah.
So I think the speed and the service and the accessibility component of it is that much more important. Yeah. I would imagine if you're writing 6-7 figure policy premiums where, I don't know, there's $150,000 difference between the premium for carrier A and carrier B, price probably becomes a lot bigger of a thing. And I'm sure price is a component everywhere, but I think that the ease of doing business has a monetary value, whether that's getting a quote quicker. Everybody out here probably has their home with a carrier and auto with another carrier, and it's bundled, right?
Right.
And then your auto rate goes up, and you're like, oh, I got to quote that. And you're like, but now I got to quote my auto everywhere, and then I got to quote my home everywhere, and then see if what am I going to save, $80?
Sure. Maybe.
And I say this because I've done this.
Right.
You do 4 hours of legwork quoting it with everybody, and you're like, it's just better.
I could have ordered a pizza.
I'm just going to keep it where it is. And I think that speaks to the fact that ease of doing business has a monetary value.
Well said. I like that.
Once again, 6-figure difference in premiums.
Yeah.
That's a big monetary value too.
Agreed.
Coverages probably have a monetary value in the event of a claim.
Yeah.
At USLI, with the small business we're writing, I think the speed and the accessibility and everything really does have a higher monetary value. And I say that in that, once again, it's a balancing act. We want to have very competitive premiums. We want to have very competitive coverages. We want to have very competitive products.
but we also want to deliver them efficiently, accurately,
Absolutely.
and quickly.
Absolutely.
So that's our value proposition. That's our bread and butter in sales. We'll continue with it. I'm excited for what the future holds. Dan, keep me in the loop. I'll stay in touch with you, and thank you for talking about this with me
Perfect.
today.
Thanks for having me.